Jamal Crawford, thank you so much for joining me here. Really appreciate you taking the time. You obviously have had a very storied NBA career. Now you've transitioned into being a broadcaster and a narrator as well. Could you talk a little bit about how that transition has gone? Because, like, first you were out there dropping 50 and suddenly you're in a studio setting. I mean, that has to be a world life changing affair.
It absolutely was. It's interesting because I wasn't the guy who thought he would be doing this when I was playing. You know, they're like, okay, start preparing for the end of your NBA career. I thought I'd be a GM, to be honest with you, or be in the front office. And I've always thought that pretty much my whole career. I always loved putting teams together and visualizing what it would be like. And I thought that was it. And when I didn't get a call to play again, I had gotten the rhythm of being home a lot. And I start, I'm home more than usual. I'm coaching my son now. And TNT came, was like, hey, why don't you sub in for Charles? I'm like, okay, sounds weird, but all right, like that's Charles Barkley, like up for him, right? But it was like, okay, I'll jump on the show. Then I think Candace Man missed a couple. I'm like, come on back. I'm like, okay, so I subbed in, still didn't think anything about it. And then there was one day in particular, I remember I was like, oh wow, I kind of like this feeling. And I got bit by the bug. And as fate would have it, I ended up signing a contract with TNT beginning of last year. And it's just been great. And it's been unbelievable because they've allowed me to grow. Like I was signed off as the analyst, right? To do like halftime, pregame, postgame stuff. And then I start doing sideline reporting. I did sideline reporting at the All-Star game. Now I'm writing for NBA.com. I have Crawford's Couch. I'm a narrator now, which is like one of the coolest things I'm sure we'll get into. And now I'm commentating games. And I'm up there with Kevin Harlan and Reggie Miller. And to me, they're some of the voices of the game. Like they're on 2K and like all the big moments, you hear them. It's like they're the soundtrack, they're the score of the game. And now I'm up here with these two legends and I'm learning from them every single day. We're having fun. They've welcomed me. They've been so gracious and welcomed me in because it's been those two for so long. So I'm just honored. This has been like a dream. And now that I'm in this space, I want to be as good as I was in basketball, to be honest with you.
So it seems like the transition was rather seamless.
It was, and it was seamless after going through a bit of kind of depression, to be honest with you. As far as like, I know I could still play. I won Teammate of the Year. Besides the 51-point game, I averaged 31 my last month in the league, even at 39 off the bench. So I'm like, I know I can still play. You can't question my character. Why am I not signing? Oh, and by the way, 6 of these same teams want me in their front office. So it was just like I couldn't figure it out, and that was bothersome. But once I got over that and threw myself into coaching my son and doing TV, I'm like, this is the perfect balance for me. And it's been great. So, yeah, once I got rolling, it was definitely seamless.
And now you're adding narrator to your resume. You are a part of the program Chasing History on the NBA app. The NBA obviously has made a huge commitment to building out League Pass, the app in itself, with additional content. You're the voice behind that. Could you give us a little bit of insight how that came to? And are you looking to do more on the NBA app as well?
Yeah, well, I have NBA relationships, obviously playing 20 years. And then just on this side of it, Hooper Vision with Q Richardson and Bill Patton, those guys, was one of the first things I did like on camera. And it's so weird looking back now because at the time it was like an alt cast, but we were just basically calling the game. And I didn't even know what calling the game was. We were just watching and talking the game and see different things and breaking things down. And so I have relationships with them, and Bill approached me about doing Chasing History. And without hesitation, we're like, yes. And for me, I'm a student of the game. So the game is the most important thing in the world to me, but I'm really big on things that were around the game. I remember, Ahmad Rashad's voice on different things, NBA features, and Marv Albert's voice on different NBA features, and Kevin Harlan's on different calls. So to be looked at in that space, right, where they're like, hey, this is a big thing we're doing, it's Chasing History, we want you to be the narrator, the voice behind it. I hold in the highest regard because it's such a piece. It's such a staple, will be such a staple going forward, especially for this generation. And for them to say, you know what, we want you to do it. I every time I do it, I'm smiling. I really am. And I'm like, when I send it off, I'm like, you guys tell me whatever you want to clean this up, however you want it to sound. I'll do it 10 times. It doesn't matter. I want you guys to feel good about it because I'm honored to be able to do it.
Yeah, that has to be odd, like just doing voiceover without having a partner to like just spare with. Like you're just in a booth reading and like doing your voices. Like that must be something odd, at least trying it the first time.
Well, it was a little different, but they've done an unbelievable job with the cadence. They gave me a reference the first time, and from that point on, for before episode one, since that point on, I'm not even doing it in booths. I'm doing it in hotels. I'm doing it everywhere, which is crazy. Yeah, I have uh, prepare me for everything and prepping me. So I'm doing everywhere you hear this. I'm all over the country. Well, I'm in New York, Atlanta, Denver now, like in Seattle, wherever I'm at, I'm doing it to knock it out. And I feel really good about it. They feel great about it. And I look forward to watching when they put their magic together. It's almost like an artist, and then you have the producer who brings it to life. And obviously they're producing it, but they really bring it to life. So it's really, really cool.
I think you add a lot of life to the show as well. Like it's something I could definitely see you becoming like a voice of something of like shows that need a narrator. Because I think at the end of the day, it's about finding your niche as well. One thing being a broadcaster, but if you could be the voice on several of these programs, that would be a wonderful addition.
Yeah, my wife was joking with me and called me James Earl Jones. She's like, "Oh, now you're the voice." Yeah, I like it. So that was funny, but it's funny you say that, because when I was just in New York, maybe 3 weeks, a month ago, whenever it was, I was in a gym playing, and there was a voiceover coach, and he hadn't even seen Chasing History yet. And he's like, "Your voice, you could do voiceover work." I'm like, "That's funny you say that. I'm working with the NBA right now on Chasing History. You'll hear about Chasing History in a second." So it's really cool, and it's how things come to life. I always thought my voice was just my voice. I can't really hear myself, but it's amazing because I actually get a chance to hear myself being a narrator, if that makes sense. It's really cool.
Now, you being a broadcaster as well and a former player, I think there's an interesting discussion to be had in regards to how you talk about the game. Like you're one of those guys who actually look at the current generation. You're very celebratory about them. Like you see the skill level, you see the devotion to the game, and you're complimentary. There's a lot of former players that are not necessarily as complimentary, who are very critical of the current generation. How do you balance those things, and why do you even think there is that sort of gap sometimes between like former players and newer players?
That's a great question. I think for me, ever since I was a kid, the game was always the main thing. And I have to give BJ Armstrong, one of my mentors, before I even got in the business, he said, when you get in this business, if you just keep the game the main thing, then just follow the game. You don't have to get into your friend if he's a player, or somebody you don't know and he's a player. Just follow the game, and the game will guide you. And I've always kept that to heart. And to answer your question, I think at times there's a disconnect. Absolutely. And I think at times an older generation player may say, yeah, like Shaq, for example. Shaq's not a hater by any means, but Shaq has a different way of going about challenging somebody. And I've grown to know that by working with him the last couple of years. And his way is like, yeah, I may say it this way. It may come out harsh, but I'm really just asking him to step up. And then when you do that, I'll say, hey, you did it, and that's Shaq's way. But then a younger player may hear it differently, and they may say, hold on, this guy did it. He played, the 5 games and 7 nights. He knows the travel. He knows all the things that come with being a pro. And what's interesting about me, and I'm not saying this to toot my own horn, it's just that I played so long. What's interesting about me is that I'm in a sweet spot as far as being able to bridge the gap. I played 20 years. So I played against Stockton and Malone, and I also played against Luka, right? So it's like that gap. I have relationships with both. Lenny Wilkins is somebody as a mentor. Mr. Bill Russell, rest in peace, was a great mentor for me. But I also am talking to Paolo Banchero and DeJounte Murray. You know what I mean? So it's like I cover so many different generations, and I'm right there in the middle. So to some guys, I'm the little brother. To some guys, I'm the big brother. And I feel like there's a certain responsibility with that. So I always try to make sure, everything's communicated. And it's amazing how communication can help relationships and help, figure out things like that.
Now, see, you just brought up Paolo and Deontay. Those are Seattle guys, and so are you. That connection was not lost on me. So could you, like, before we wrap this up, we got to talk about Seattle basketball here, just for
Absolutely.
a second, because it seems like guys from that region, Levine is also involved in that. Nate Robinson back in the day too. Like, there's special bond there, man. Like, could you elaborate on why is that brotherhood so strong when it comes to hoopers from Seattle?
I'm gonna give Doug Christie the credit because he's the me under his wing first, and he was like, you know what, you have some talent, I'm going to help you. And for me, that's a pro. He's a pro player, and if I really have aspirations and dreams of making it to the pros, who better to tell me how to get there than this pro, right? We went to the same high school, and he took a vested interest in me as far as teaching me the right way, showing me how to work, how to be in the best condition, how to be in the best shape, and just what to work on. And it changed my life. And so for me, when I made it, I was still attached to that younger generation. I'm always in the community centers playing. They see me all summer long, but they also see me on TV. So I'm like, you know what? I want to do this for this generation because I know what it did for me. It helped. Without Doug Christie and Gary Payton doing it for me, I don't think I make it to the NBA. I'm just being honest. I probably don't make it to the NBA. And so when it changed my life, I said, I want to try to affect as many lives as possible. And all those guys you say carry that same mindset. And it's almost like, it's not the crabs in the bucket mentality. It's almost like the baton. Like, here, Doug, you got it. You pass it to Jamal. Jamal, you got it. You pass it to Nate. Nate, you got it. Pass it to B. Roy, and so on and so forth. And it continues on down the line. You pass it to DeJounte. You pass to Paulo. Pass to, Jay McDaniels, whoever it is, and Isaiah. And that's what makes this community special.
Which only underlines once again how the NBA could really use another team in Seattle, because it seems like the interest level has never wavered or waned even after the team moved.
Absolutely. And think about this, and this is something that's kind of lost on people, right? Because in LA, they have the Lakers and the Clippers. In Dallas, they have the Mavericks. In Atlanta, they have the Hawks. We've had so many pros since 2008 when the Sonics left. Go look at how many pros we've had from the state of Washington since 2008 with no NBA team to be as a reference or to be the fuel to push you. So I think that is a credit to the guys in the community who have came back and continue to help raise this next generation.
Jamal, thank you so much. I know you have a busy schedule ahead of you. Thank you so much for taking the time. It was great insight from you, and take care, and congratulations on the success of Chasing History. You're doing great, my man.
I appreciate it. I'm glad you enjoy it, and I'm having a ball with it. I look forward to the next episodes for sure.
Definitely will. Have a good one and have a great weekend.
You too. I appreciate that. Thank you.